All right. Hello, Kirk and Joni. You guys there?
Hi,
We're
Danny.
here. Hi.
I don't know why I always ask that. I think that's from when I first got started doing this. Now we're on video, so I can see you there. So it's kind of weird that I'm asking if you're there or not. But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So I met Kirk and Joni at Flip Hacking Live just recently, and you guys had the table right next to Lead Propeller's table
Right.
out there. And so we didn't get a whole lot of time to chat. It was a busy event, and you guys always had a lot of people at your table talking to you, and we had quite a few people at ours too. But it's really cool. And after I heard our mutual friend Mike Simmons, talking about how awesome you guys are, I just had to talk to you a little bit more. And so I wanted to get you on this podcast and share with everybody out there, all the flipping junkies and flip pilots out there listening. The importance of bookkeeping, right? And maybe it's not super exciting, but with what you guys want to share, I think it can be an interesting listen, and also, something that's very beneficial because we can, find out what those mistakes are that maybe many of us are making that we really shouldn't be making. So do you guys want to start with giving sort of a quick, background about how you got into providing this service for real estate investors?
Yeah, sure. Well, about a couple years ago, I decided to go back to work. I had stayed home for several years after our son was born. And I had done QuickBooks for a consulting firm for about 6 years prior to that. So I was looking for something. I enjoy bookkeeping, something in that field. And I met these two guys, Mike Simmons and Mike Cowper, huge, successful real estate investors in our area. And started doing their books. And, Kirk has a mortgage background, so he jumped right in with me because there's so much you have to understand, settlement statements and real estate's very unique. And so we started doing their books and realizing that there was a kind of a hole in this market, that there's not a ton of people that do bookkeeping for real estate investors. So about a year ago, REI was born. We started meeting all these real estate investors through the mics, and it's just snowballed, and here we are.
Yeah, after meeting them and meeting other people, we decided to focus solely on real estate investors as our customer base, and it's been great ever since. We've met a lot of great people.
Awesome. And I don't know that I've mentioned it, but it's reibooksonline.com, correct, is your website?
Yes.
It's a nice website. I like it. I was checking it out this morning, and like the way you guys set it up and have it laid out. It's very, very clear and easy to understand what you guys provide, so it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Let's start with now I want to get into some of the fun stuff. So what, you guys have been doing this for a while, and I want to hear some of the horror stories. So what are some of the things that people have come to you and you've been like, oh man, are you serious? Do you have any stories like that you'd be willing to share? You don't have to, obviously names or who it was, but
Exactly, yeah, the
it's
innocent.
probably Mike, but I'm
Well, I think a lot of it, we got the late in the year phone calls like, oh, I haven't done anything for the whole year. Can you catch this up? And and I don't have many transactions. And then you get in there and, there's thousands.
yeah.
Yeah, I do think that, one of the things that comes to us has been surprising is, maybe people have tried to start QuickBooks. We use QuickBooks Online for all of our clients, or they try to start another type of bookkeeping system. And so when we're talking to them, they say, oh, it's not that hard. I don't have that much. I don't have that many expenses. All I do is rent properties. Okay. And we get in there and there's just hundreds, thousands of things that have not been categorized. And so my first thought is, okay, you're going to lose a lot of money. We got to get this tightened up. So it is interesting. If you don't do it every day, you don't realize how much goes into it.
Right. And I don't do it, and thank goodness for Melissa, because I don't know what I would do. I would be one of those people that wouldn't have it together. She's been handling all of that and taking care of that, thank goodness. But so how many mistakes did you guys want to share? Did you have a list of mistakes that you want to go through that you've seen
Sure.
And, go
Yeah,
through.
yeah, absolutely. So the biggest mistake is not having any bookkeeping at all. I think that with how easy it is to track your checking accounts online and know whether you have money, a lot of times people just don't do it. Even if they start a plan or not, if they look at their checkbook and they try to make that gut reaction, do I have enough money to pay my yellow books, or do I not, or whatever it is. So I think it's that's the first one, is just not having any type of system. And then secondly to that would probably be
keeping receipts.
Right.
Tracking every little expense is so important, because you're going to lose money otherwise. Those little trips to Home Depot that you make every week or whatever it is, that's a huge mistake. They just not keeping receipts. You want to have those in QuickBooks. We can attach them in there, and that's sufficient for the IRS, and that's a biggie, that people just don't keep receipts.
Yeah.
Do you guys see a lot of people miscategorizing things, or not having things structured the right? I don't know enough about it. I should probably have Melissa interviewing guys, honestly. But, like miscategorizing things, or maybe having things organized very poorly.
Yeah, and the great thing about bookkeeping is you can kind of categorize things the way that you want to see it for your business. So a lot of our initial talk with clients is, how do you need to view your business from a financial standpoint, so that we're keeping the books and reporting for the business owner to view it. We know we're going to use proper bookkeeping, so to be ready for tax time. But yeah, a lot of times people, if they're using especially a software or an online program, and if you don't, take a second to look at it, then if you miscalculate or miscategorize something that is a marketing expense, well, at the end of the year, you can't go back and get a true idea of how much you spent on marketing. So to your point, we're very, very aggressive with our clients of making sure that we know, okay, what is this? Where should it go? And keep it properly categorized, so that more so not for tax, but for reporting. So you can go back, benchmark, look, set budgets, and know exactly where your money went.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the part, right? That, it's not just bookkeeping for tax's sake. It's bookkeeping for the sake of understanding what's happening with your business, right?
Absolutely.
So do you have clients that kind of tell you, like, I had no idea that this was going on, or that this was costing me this much until you guys showed me the report?
So one of our earlier clients, will remain nameless, we had 6 maybe months worth of receipts on this flip, and it was a pretty expensive flip. There were a lot of contractor bills, a lot of Home Depot receipts, and as we went through it and we started seeing how these numbers were coming together, now they were getting close to selling it, and we kind of knew what price they were putting on it, and I almost didn't want to send them the report. I was like, they're not going to make a lot of money and maybe even lose. And so I think that was a little bit of a wow moment for that client that knew how much they were paying on the big stuff, but those little things that added up, I don't think they realized how much they spent on that particular flip. Now, of course, we have things in place so they know as they go.
Right.
But that's a big piece of it.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I don't know how many times it was probably 100% of the time gone over what the estimates were, but it was always a general idea, right? Like, we've spent X amount on this. We had this contractor with this agreement spending about this much, but then there's the add-ons and everything, the change orders, and just kind of mentally figuring out how much. And it's almost always more than what you have calculated in your head for the job. So I could see how that can happen a lot. So what is the process? So I'm curious. And so maybe this is where it's beneficial that I'm asking the questions, because I'm clueless as to most of this. But so what is the process? So if I said, okay, I'm handling it myself, I want you guys to handle it, how does the reporting happen? How do I see, what the books look like, and what are the requests, and how's everything work?
Well, first of all, we would, of course, start a QuickBooks account or transfer yours over, whichever, if you had something going. We start with, we need every settlement statement, all the receipts that you have, invoices. If there are any loan documents, we make sure that those are in QuickBooks. And we just start literally putting in transaction by transaction and then build it up. And then we can give you a report. Once we have everything in there, we can give reports for the whole company. And we also break it down by property. So you can see exactly, get a P&L for each property.
Yeah, we really work with clients on what's the best way to get us things like receipts and documents, and we use shared drives, and we use QuickBooks apps, and there's about 5 or 6 different ways. Every client finds the way that it works, but I always tell people, you're not going to send us too much paper. Send us everything.
Right.
We'll sort it out. We'll have it nice and neat. And when we start with a client, we're typically doing some kind of cleanup. So we may be going back several months, and that actually helps us get to understand their specific business a little bit better. So over that initial 30 to 45 days while we're cleaning up and setting up their account, there's a ton of questions. And then as 6 months down the road, there's less questions because we know more and more about how their business flows.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of that ramp up time where you're trying to figure out everybody's specific situation and how they work things.
Yeah.
How does that? How does the reporting work? Would I request a report and then you guys would send it to me, or is there online access with QuickBooks where I can always see exactly where everything is? How does that work?
Yes to all. So we have clients who get into their QuickBooks maybe even on a daily basis. They like to get in there. We set up custom reports. They can hit a button and run it themselves. And we have clients who probably forgot their QuickBooks password. So wherever in that scope somebody fits, we're going to work with them. So we will make available the monthly P&L balance sheets. We will make available reports every time a property closes. But then there also is a functionality for people to go into QuickBooks themselves, and we show them how to get in there and run any report they want.
Nice.
But a lot of times clients will want specific reports. A big one is, right before Flip Hacking Live, before some of the meetings, a lot of our clients wanted to see their marketing expenses broken out on a monthly basis. And so we created reports to, pay-per-click is separate, and email and Facebook. And so we created custom reports for that. And that is helping us with our knowledge. Usually, if one of our clients wants something, the other clients are going to want it too. So it helps that we're kind of in the same industry and all of our clients are looking for the same thing.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit. So even if you're doing it well yourself, maybe you're not getting the benefit of what other investors, and I'm sure a lot of your clients are probably some of the top level people in the country, right? I mean,
they are, yeah.
We're very blessed. We had a lot of clients on stage at Flip Hack Live. We've got some great clients from all stages, from beginners to very, very seasoned investors. But it really helps us a lot with the seasoned investors to see how they look at their business, and that helps us a lot when we're talking to new clients or maybe younger investors to help show them some reporting that they may not have thought of to look at.
Oh, nice. So, and I think I just realized too with this recording, because we were just talking before this episode that Skype kind of changed the way they did things. Sure. And I'm recording the video too for Flipping Junkie's YouTube channel, for youtube.com/flippingjunkie. And it's split screen right now, and I see it. And so it's kind of like half of Kirk's face, half of Joni's face, and in the center I can see the beautiful view outside. But there you go. If you can lean in just a little bit that way, yeah, okay, that's great.
We like each other. We get closer.
So I was, we were joking about how, the podcast might seem kind of professionally produced at some times. I'm sure most of the time it doesn't, but it's like figuring this stuff out. Skype changes and then all this stuff happens. But so great. So we can see you better this way. Now, what was the next question I had? The bookkeeping for rental properties, owner financing, flips. Have you guys handled all that? Do you handle all those different situations?
Yeah, matter of fact, one of the probably the biggest thing that got us to focus on real estate investing was when we started taking on books for clients, even if they had bookkeepers in the past. The real estate and the financing seemed to be the biggest area where mistakes were made, or simply even not done. We would get into a client's books, and it's kind of like this real estate, this settlement statement from 6 months ago was just an out there lingering question that nobody had ever done. Or we got into them and found that maybe somebody just records how much the check was when they sold or bought a property, but didn't get in and take into account the settlement statements and the realtor commission and things that
the loan
and
Wow.
things that seem simple, but it's not rocket science. But if you don't do it every day, it's maybe not as intuitive where to put it in and how to keep it. And so we've we've done all of that. We have clients who have 200 rental properties. We have clients who do only wholesaling. We have clients who do only flipping, and we have a lot of clients who do a little bit of everything.
Nice. Well, and that's why I really wanted you guys on the show too, because we've been talking a lot about working more on people's business instead of in the business. And I think a lot of us, feel like we're saving money or saving the energy of trying to figure it out ourselves and just doing it ourselves. But it's keeping us from the more important things of getting out there and getting more deals and making sure that the rehabs we're doing are on time, on budget, and we're not losing money and not exceeding our budgets and finding out that the profit we make is not what we thought it was going to be, because we're spending times doing these things that's best left to somebody that focuses on this. And so that's why it's really awesome to talk with y'all. But what so do you guys have any kind of furthering education? Do you guys educate yourselves on the different types of real estate investments, just to kind of have a better idea how all that works?
Absolutely.
We do. And, just to that point, just a shout out to Mike Simmons and Mike Cowper, because they've been instrumental in helping us along the way and training us. And in certain, financing can be a little tricky sometimes. And then we listen to podcasts and like going to Flip Hacking Live and taking in all we can.
Yeah, we really take that seriously. We belong to a local RIA group here, so we can go to that every month and listen to the speakers and really understand the different ways of buying and selling property, and the financing is huge. So we're very committed to. We try to learn as much as if we were actually real estate investors ourselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome that you guys kind of narrowed down to this niche. Or niche, however you want to say it. You know what I mean? To where you can focus and you can go that extra mile and you can understand everything, because you're not trying to learn, 100 different industries. You're focusing on real estate investors. You're focusing on us and what we do. And so I think that's great. And yeah, like to your point about, the Mikes, Mike Cowper, Mike Simmons, those guys are awesome. Good friends.
Yeah,
they're good guys. They're good guys.
Sure.
Let's see what else. So do you provide full servicing of notes for owner financing properties?
Well, we obviously keep the books for it. We can keep track of how much interest is due, and all of that stuff comes up, after the fact. Usually when a property is sold. One of the things that we always want to look at are the loan documents, so we can anticipate with our clients that, hey, when you sell that property, you've got back-end points, or you have a minimum number of months of interest, or something that's due. So as we're working and keeping records throughout the flip, there's not a surprise that, hey, there's an extra $4,000 in financing expenses at the end. And we keep that out on an online shared drive for our clients so they can keep track of it as they go. They'll always know how much they have into it. We call it our bottom line report.
Oh, great. So, but you don't get into the part of posting payments and collections or managing escrow accounts, or do you?
Not at this point. We don't have any clients who've asked us to do that. We do some of that managing within our clients' bank accounts. We don't hold it ourselves, but we can certainly help keep track of that and separate that out and make sure that EMDs and escrow and security deposits and all those things are held in the proper type of account and not mixed with other funds.
Okay, good. So let's get back to some of the mistakes then. Are there any others? Have we covered them through the conversation? Are there any others that you guys want to share?
There's a few more. I got to say maybe number one is when you're using contractors and not getting the proper information up front to keep track of them for 1099 purposes. So if you pay anybody as a contractor who's not incorporated, so even if they're an LLC, that usually will fall into this category. If you pay them $600 throughout the year, you have to provide them with a 1099 at the end of the year. And a lot of times in November, December, especially if we're taking on new clients, that's when we start asking, did you get a W-9 from this client? Do we have their social security, or this, excuse me, not client, but contractor, do we have their social security number? Because we got to send them a report by the end of January. Yeah. And so we always tell people, until you get that W-9, don't cut them the first check. And you'll be amazed how quickly you get it. It's tough to do it 6 months after the fact.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I got asked that a lot from Melissa. It's like, did you ever get... Yeah, I don't know how, but yeah, we put that into our processes, like you said, for before you pay that first check, that needs to be there and signed before you give that first check.
Just become a habit.
Yeah, it's let that become a habit. The other thing that one of the things people can do, so this is not as much of a problem, but receipts and keeping those receipts separate by property is such a huge problem. And I know there's a lot of receipts in the bottom of the floor of trucks, all over the country.
Boxes.
And, so we encourage you to use the technology that's available. It's okay if we'll mention Home Depot, for example. They have a Pro Extra account. That is great. You can put all your credit cards against that account. You'll have an online access to your receipts. You use the property address as the PO or job number. And then we go in there for our clients. We have access to that. And we don't even have to ask them which property it is because it's already on the receipt. And we have a copy of the receipt. And that receipt can blow out the window of your truck if you want. And it's there electronically. So we really try to help people with the organization. The organization is tough, I think. Most people run this business probably in their cars or trucks going from place to place meeting clients.
Mm-hmm. So, and Joni, if you can move in closer to Kirk a little bit, because you watch the video later and it's like, where am I? I'm out.
That's okay.
But, so that's the curious thing. So the receipts. So, I mean, if I'm in San Antonio, you guys are in Michigan, and I have these receipts and I'm keeping track of them, keeping them separated, how are you guys getting, so are you requesting access to like credit card accounts to see those, to be able to enter those? Is that the easiest way to do it, or?
Yes, we do get access to checking credit card feeds. We get what's called delegate access, so we can just see transactions and statements. We don't need to be able to transfer money or anything like that until it comes, if needed. But yeah, we can go on there and see what that transaction is. Like Kirk said, QuickBooks has an app where they can take pictures of receipts and it comes right into QuickBooks, and then we can do what we need to on our end as far as categorizing it, putting it in properly. There's another app out there, IFTTT, that you can also just take a picture and email it to us. We have a receipts email for our clients where they can, you get a lot of email receipts. Mm-hmm. They can just forward right to us. We have a Google Drive we share where you can put receipts in that way.
Yeah, we try to make it easy, so we give people many different tools, and occasionally we get shoeboxes, and people mail them to us, and that's okay. We'll go through that as well. So it's whatever works for each client. Send us, as long as we can get the receipt, we can figure it out.
Just imagine the cringe when you guys see the UPS truck pull up or whatever.
the size
Amazon
of the
smile on it. Yeah, no, that's great that you guys are all those different ways. Yeah, there's so many ways to transfer information these days, and it's nice you guys allow people to use what they like to use, because nothing stinks more than when you have a way of doing something and you're told to do it some other way. So that's awesome.
Exactly. Some clients like to use Google Drive, some like to use Dropbox. What we've also done, though, is, a lot of clients use, say, for example, the same title company. So they'll just tell the title company, when you close on a house, email a copy of the settlement statement directly to Kirk and Joni, to the bookkeepers. So as we're doing more and more of that, we're trying to take as much of that off the client's table as we can. When we just simply don't know, we keep a running list of clients out there on questions out there on a shared drive, so clients can go in at their leisure and answer the questions, tell us, what this charge is for. So.
Right.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's finding ways to make everybody's process more efficient, like you said, from title companies sending info directly to you guys, and not having to be in the loop. Why do I need to be in the loop when they can just send it straight to you guys and you guys can enter all that stuff in? Nice. Right. So do you guys ever have to contact the title companies to clarify anything, or?
Sure. And I'll tell you, the most common one is, we know, for example, there was a $1,000 EMD, but it's not reflected on the settlement statement. We want to make sure our clients get the credit for that. Yeah, we have no problem calling a title company, asking the questions. If they're supposed to get a $10,000 assignment fee, but the deposit only came through for $9,600, we're going to contact the title company to find, okay, what was the $400 for? And it's usually some legitimate fee, but we want to know. So we don't mind making calls, doing whatever we have to do to help answer those questions. And we're usually going to be in a better position to have that conversation because we understand what we're asking than to try to have the client do it on their own.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love that. Yeah, so you kind of get an idea for what typically. So the earnest money, how did you know? Do you just know that every time they buy something, or sold something, like they know the typical earnest money that's given or received? Right.
Yeah. So when the check comes in, $2,500 is usually a good indicator that it's earnest money. But we will ask the client, "What's this for?" If it's not readily apparent, and we keep it through bookkeeping. We keep a separate account for earnest money, so then theoretically, if all the properties were bought and sold, that should be at zero, because they will, go in and out. So we know, but we're keeping track of that by property. That, hey, there's an earnest money that was received, or we know from the contract that an earnest money was given to the title company, and we keep all those documents and we review them again before we finalize the books on that property.
Oh, cool. All right, what's the next mistake? You got more?
Yeah. There's a couple more.
Why don't you talk about reconciling?
Yeah, reconciling bank statements is a big one. We find that a lot with clients who really haven't been doing true bookkeeping, and it's just important to keep all your bank accounts reconciled in QuickBooks. And, your accountant's going to want that for tax purposes. And it also helps you make sure that there aren't any errors, that something didn't get put in twice or come through twice. Every now and then, the banks will get duplicate transactions, and there should only be one. So reconciling really helps you keep on top of all that.
Yeah, that's, I'm going to age myself here, but when I first got a checking account, you used to have to balance your checking account against what you had in your paper book and what the banks had on their statement. And that's basically what reconciling is. But you'll find things. You'll find sometimes through reconciling, we will find the bank made an error. Or we'll find, they charged you this, this overdraft fee, and it looked like you had money in the bank at the time, and then something that the client can go to the bank and have that conversation with. So just reconciling, making sure everything matches, it's huge. And when we take on clients who haven't been doing books for a while, that's usually the biggest piece. We go back and find just certain things, a lot of transactions that aren't in the books.
Yeah, and I remember when Melissa's having a rough day before, when she was still doing, most of the books. Like most of the time, it was because of that. It's like it's off by this much, and I don't know where it's at. So she's having to go through everything. It's like it wouldn't take so long, but when you have the discrepancy, then you've got to figure out where it comes from, and maybe something got fat fingered and mistake was made. But yeah, so.
And we just cannot stand for stuff to not match. I mean, it's the
kind of person you want managing, doing the books.
And we always say, people, our tagline for our business is, we love bookkeeping, you don't. Mm-hmm. We know people, nobody gets into real estate investing to do their books. But if there's a $1.50 charge and we're pretty sure it's parking, we're going to be a little bit of a bulldog to make sure that is what it is. And we're not just going to let it go. So but it's important at the end of the year that you have everything great for your taxes, but also, as we talked about before, being able to manage your business and know where your money's coming and going helps you not only at that time, but helps you to benchmark years down the road, helps you to budget your next flip, helps you to budget your marketing for next year. So the better we keep track of that and the better reporting, then the better tool our clients are going to have.
Yeah, nice. So when somebody says, okay, I've had enough, like I don't want to do this anymore, I'd rather be out there doing these deals and checking on the jobs and all that kind of stuff. And, we explained the process a little bit, but how long does it take to get up if I said, hey, why don't you guys start doing hours? We're flipping, X amount of properties per year, and we've got all this stuff. How long does it typically take for you guys to get onboarded and have everything ready to go to where it's then a maintenance kind of thing?
Realistically, of course, it depends on what type of investing you're doing, but typically about 30 to 45 days to really get it to where we can run you reports that are accurate and make sure everything's in there and everything's correct. And like I said, sometimes it's quicker and sometimes we have to, drag it out a little bit more and just to make sure it is correct.
Right.
It also really depends on the scope of the business.
Right.
If you have people who are doing a large volume, and if their books haven't been updated for several months, it might take a little bit longer. But we don't mind burning the midnight oil and working until 3 o'clock in the morning to get clients up to speed. And we want to get to that point, like you said, where it's just monthly maintenance as fast as we can, but also by being accurate.
Okay, cool. And so the communication, so like you said, in onboarding, the thing is, like, you guys are trying to understand what everybody's doing. There's a lot of missing information, and you're trying to do all that. So how do you manage that with, I'm sure it's got to be hard. That's got to be probably a pretty tough thing, is trying to get people to send the stuff that you're asking for. And, so how do you handle that? I mean, do you guys batch a bunch of the stuff that you need into one thing, or is it a message every time you need something?
Right. No. We keep a spreadsheet, a worksheet out on Google Drive. Every client, we do a shared drive with them. And we have a list of questions by bank or credit card account and just put them out there. So they're out there all the time. And you can go in, if you're up at 1 o'clock in the morning and you want to go in there and answer questions, and then we'll check that and put it into your book. So that way we're not constantly pestering. Occasionally, of course, we communicate with them via email and phone and such, but that's typically the best way that we can communicate with them.
Yeah, and if we really get to a point, maybe there's a complicated situation and his client who's doing some stuff that's maybe a little new to us, we'll get in a car on a plane and we'll just go see him, sit down for, it's we're virtual, but doesn't mean we don't leave the office.
Great. So I'm sure you've got a lot of people telling you how much you've changed their lives once they've agreed to finally let go and let the professionals take care of it. I know, Melissa was, as soon as she let go, and was just like, I should have done that so many years ago. I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I think, and I think, people have said, I know the mics have said many times that it's not just the freedom of not doing it and having the time back to run your business, but I think also if you have a professional doing your books, then they're being done, and they're being done correctly, and there's maybe your blood pressure goes down 1 point or some little maybe one less sleepless night. I know our industry has a lot of other stresses, but if we can take one little piece off of it, then that is going to help our clients' business, and they're going to produce more than they'll ever pay us.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see. How many clients are you guys looking to take on? I mean, do you have a limit on how many you're willing to take on at this point?
We limit how many we take on at one time, because the setup is takes a while and can be intensive. So for us, that number is usually somewhere around 10 at a time. But we have staff and we have the capabilities to really take several clients on an ongoing basis. But if anybody's interested, we'll if we couldn't take them on and do a good job, we would tell them and try to put that off maybe a couple of weeks. But for the most part, we've got it down now that we can take on whatever we need to.
Oh, great. Yeah, you've been doing it long enough to experience the kind of busy times and to get through those then, huh?
Right.
Yeah, and again, by having so many clients in the same industry, a lot of our stuff's sort of plug and play at this point. We know who all the vendors are. We understand how to read settlement statements. We understand how to read the financial documents. So a lot of the clients that we asked questions that we asked a year ago, we don't have to ask anymore. And we're learning more and more every day. And so usually the questions are very specific, like, why did you use your personal credit card instead of the business credit card, things like that. But we sort through that. So.
Great. All right. So do you have any more mistakes to share, or any tips or anything that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, actually, what I just mentioned brings one up, is that in our business, especially when you're just starting out, there is a lot of commingling between personal and business funds. The ideal situation is don't do it, but we just know it happens. If you're doing your own books, or you have a different bookkeeper than us, just make sure that they have some way of keeping that separate. And either the business is going to reimburse you as the owner, and you'll be whole, or if not, then you're going to consider that a contribution of equity into the business. But what I see too many times is people, they just don't track the personal. They know they put it on their personal Visa, but they don't want to mess with it. And it's been months and months and months, and they say, forget it. Well, you could forget $3,000 or $4,000 worth of write-offs if you're not doing that, maybe even more. So try to not use your personal money, but if you do, keep track of it.
Yeah, great tip. Yeah, that's a big one. All right, so how can people get a hold of you guys? What's the best way for anybody listening that's interested in talking with you more about, if they want to come over to you guys, or if they have questions, about how they're handling it themselves, how can people reach out to you?
Probably the easiest way from here is to go to our website, reibooksonline.com, hit the contact button, and let us know when's a good time to reach you, and we will follow up for sure. Send us an email, which you can also do directly from the website. Awesome.
And you guys also mentioned that you'd be willing to give people a discount, if they listened and found out about it from this podcast. And what do people need to do, and what is the discount that you're giving? Right. So whether you sign up online directly on our website for our services, or if you talk to us, just tell us to use the coupon code Danny, and you will receive 50% off your first month of bookkeeping. Oh, awesome. That's a good discount. Yeah, well, we want the business. All right, so the coupon code is Danny, and I think we discussed a little bit. You were saying, what we want to give a discount. What should we have as the coupon code? And, it's usually either Flipping Junkie or Danny whenever we have a situation where somebody's willing to offer a special to the listeners out there. And I always hesitate to do Flipping Junkie because of the different spellings and all that kind of stuff. So Danny's just real simple, Danny. But like he said, if you talk to him, just mention it. That way you get that discount. Might as well. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time to get on the show and find out a little bit more about y'all. And so thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right.